Get over here!
Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
Death threats, delays, floods, trademark lawsuits. After all the calamity that's befallen No Man's Sky, the game has practically become the video game industry's punching bag.
Is it ever coming out? I'm not sure.
At this, we'll see.
They can add another punch to the list. A Dutch company is now claiming that it owns the patent for the code that helped build No Man's Sky. And unfortunately for Hello Games and gamers, this company might actually have a legal leg to stand on. Shit!
I know, right? They may never come out. You ask that, but it's like, shh, don't jinx them. The news comes from the Dutch newspaper Telegraph, which reports that Jenkins, the technology institute in Netherlands, says it owns the patented super formula used in the procedural generation tools used in the game.
I totally know what procedural generation tools are.
Right? It means that it's not random.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I meant. I knew what it does.
It's a procedure.
And according to them, Hello Games does not have permission to use it. Jeroen Sparrow, head of business development at Jenkins, said, "We have not licensed to Hello Games. We certainly do not want to stop the launch, but if the formula is used, we will have to sit at the table at any given time."
I don't know, that's gotta be a weird translation. So here, let me get this straight, though. You waited until right before the game's coming out, after it's been delayed to August, to say that that's not okay? That's very convenient on our part, I'd say.
At the moment, neither Hello Games or Sony have responded, but if this is something that escalates, it could be bad news for both parties. Patent infringement can be tremendously damaging in and out of court, and the companies know that firsthand, having already been embroiled in a separate trademark lawsuit over the game's use of the word sky.
That news, of course, broke last month when Hello Games CEO and creator of No Man's Sky, Sean Murray, tweeted about the end of the legal battle with British telecom giant Sky, who owned the trademark for the word in the UK.
Someone owns a trademark for the word sky.
Yes, that's not the worst. We've got Candy, we've got Saga, you can trademark anything.
That's awesome. Many have speculated that No Man's Sky's recent 2-month delay to August was caused in part by this rather silly lawsuit, which has settled out of court. However, the issue we're talking about here has to do with patents rather than trademarks.
Yeah, a trademark covers a brand. Trademark law exists so that any company can protect its brand, service, or product from copycats that are attempting to use the familiarity of a brand name for their own game.
Patents, on the other hand, are meant to protect inventions. Patent law basically grants any inventor a monopoly on the product in order to keep the competitors from stealing their invention and selling it themselves.
In order for a patent to be valid, it has to be novel, useful, and not obvious. It also, well, theoretically not obvious. We get some crazy patents these days. It also has to be a specific technology rather than a broad overall concept.
If you're unable to create your patented idea to its maximum potential, you can license it out to other inventors or companies and you'll get a payment or cut from them.
The game with patents is to be specific enough to get the patent awarded to you, but general enough that you can cover a broad range of inventions, thus keeping more competitors from releasing products like yours or entitling you to more money from licenses.
Which has resulted in patent trolls who make a business out of claiming anything under the sun that is made by man. An actual quote about what is patentable according to the Supreme Court, after they claim these general concepts, they go on to sue people or demand licensing fees.
We've actually had a bunch of those at Rooster Teeth.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, some of the things that we're talking about are from the US patent law, of course, but generally the big three, which is the US Patent and Trademark Office, the European Patent Office, and Japan Patent Office, tend to work pretty closely together internationally.
That was an acronym and you actually knew what it was. Like, it didn't say that there.
That,
I am
USPTO?
thoroughly impressed.
We've been talking a lot about patents.
Good job, Ashley.
Thanks.
While it might be easy to dismiss Jenkins as doing nothing more than patent trolling in this instance, they actually might have a little bit of a case here.
Yeah, the super formula patent that Jenkins claims to own is, in fact, theirs and dates all the way back to 2004. Generally, you're protected for 20 years or so when you file a patent. The patent was filed with the European Patent Office, which means that it's also valid in the UK, where Hello Games is located. Wait, does that still count with Brexit?
Topical. Now this is where things get a bit tricky. While you can't patent math or formulas, you can patent their use toward a specific goal or function, which is why you can patent software in the first place.
Yeah, there are a number of random video game patents floating around out there already. Sega owns a patent that allowed the NPCs to scatter out of the way in Crazy Taxi, for instance, and up until recently, Namco held a patent on including minigames during video game loading screens, which is probably why that never took off across the industry, because they all would have had to pay Namco a licensing fee. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a cute idea. It's not that cute.
Yeah, it doesn't really make the loading times that much better. The super formula patent isn't just a patent on the numbers behind the formula, it actually covers a graphical editor that can create an endless amount of 2D and 3D shapes. That might sound more familiar to you under a different name, procedural generation.
Which is not random. And this type of procedural generation is super important to No Man's Sky. It's how the game can have almost an infinite amount of planets and creatures for players to visit and or destroy potentially.
Here's how Professor Johan Gielis, the chief researcher of Jenkins and inventor of the superformula, describes it. Since the superformula uses a single algorithm to create a virtually any 2D or 3D shape, the designer can change one or two variables and use the computer to instantly create an endless stream of very specific variations.
He went on to say, it changes the process of trial and error into trial and select. The creative possibilities are enormous.
So this is a different type of procedural generation than what we normally think of in video games, in that it can produce all different types of naturalistic shapes for wildlife and terrain, which would help a game like No Man's Sky come up with some of its alien creatures and landscape.
And which is why we probably haven't heard of it for things like Minecraft, for example. They use a very different kind of procedural generation. And while it might sound like a tenuous link to the super formula and why it exists, unfortunately, it's not, because Hello Games has admitted to using that specific super formula.
In a number of interviews last year, including one with The New Yorker, Sean Murray talked specifically about plugging the formula into early tests of the game, and according to him, it was the thing that made the game really work.
Yeah. Sorry, doesn't sound good for them from a legal standpoint. We liked the game, we wanted to come out and do awesome things, but the licensing, they may have to go through it.
As to why Hello Games would use someone else's formula to create technology behind their game, well, there could be a couple of reasons.
Yeah, for one.
Tell us, Ashley.
Well, for one, they might not have known it was patented, although that's probably a little bit of a stretch considering there are other legal troubles in their deal with Sony. You'd think they'd have had a lawyer to consult about this, but maybe not. I wouldn't blame them for thinking that math can't be patented. It's kind of a weird idea.
If that's the case, then they might feel they've edited the formula enough or done something different enough with the patent that they're covered from any licensing fees, because building on a patent to do something new with it, that's also patentable.
Yeah, the original patent doesn't cover using a formula to generate wildlife and terrain on 3D planets, but it does cover creating 3D shapes in general, which, wow, I mean, when you get down to it, that's
getting close. Enough. The patent also mostly talks about the super formula in terms of being a graphics editor. However, judging from demonstrations Murray gave to reporters last summer, it sounds like that's how they were using it to build the back end for the game.
As to whether or not this could result in another delay for the game, fingers crossed that it won't. The fact that Jenkins waited until right before launch to make their claims says quite a bit about their intention. Really, they wanted to make some quick money when Hello Games and Sony has the least amount of wiggle room. It's like, you don't want another delay? Just license it.
Yeah.
Then we don't have to go through all of this. Come on. Otherwise, it could be tied up for years.
Yeah,
I mean, the trademark was apparently a 2-year lawsuit that they just settled.
Jesus.
Courts don't work fast.
This will probably end up with yet another undisclosed out-of-court settlement for Hello Games if Jenkins decides to turn it into a legal matter. However, given that the company has already gone bankrupt once before a few years back, that might not even be an option for them.
Yeah, at this point, you kind of hope Hello Games doesn't have to do with anything else. So far, they've run the gauntlet, right? There's nothing else that we can get. Like, it's already more cursed than like a Duke Nukem at this point. We've got to be through it. We've got to be. Come on,
someone's
right?
gonna like trademark the word no or something.
Don't you know?
What do you guys think of more potential legal troubles for No Man's Sky? Let us know in the comments.
And for future news about cursed video game developers and all their legal woes, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
Yeah. If that's the case, then they might feel they've edited the formula enough or done something different enough with the patent that they're covered from. Let's make it a rap.
What's the rap?
I don't have it. I'm white as hell. I can't rap.
Go, you can bust it out.
No.
Yeah?
No.
Yes?
I'll give you a beat. No, we're not doing this.
The rules of improv are yes and.